Welcome to the Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Today, my guest is Hannah Truxell. Hannah is a senior policy counsel with the Humane League. She is an experienced attorney with a background in-house nonprofit legal issues, animal law, public policy, and litigation. Stick around. I want to introduce her to you three. Hi, Hannah. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing, Nancy?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. And I'm going to get right to the point. How did you get to veganism?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. So I actually started first with vegetarianism back in 2013, 9 years ago. My wife and I were at the state fair. We lived in Kentucky, and there, as state fairs go, there's farm animals, and yeah, you know how that goes. And there was a pig that was seemingly enjoying its life, and then we saw this little boy whacking this pig with a stick. And, my wife and I had just eaten our hot dogs, and it was like this light bulb went off for both of us. And we were like, we can't do this anymore. And at that point was when we said, we're going to transition completely, to vegetarianism. Um, and from there, it was very quick transition to veganism for me. I watched a documentary on Netflix, and it is escaping me, but I was horrified. And I told my wife the same thing. I can't do this anymore. And I began the process of just, emptying out the house of animal products, and for me, it felt like a values alignment. I didn't want to be part of such horrific cruelty, and I felt like I needed to do my part to make this transition.
That is, that is awesome that you transition and that you make that connection. Um, yeah, especially, when you see children abusing animals and people think that's okay, and it's not okay, you know. Um,
Right.
so it's like I'm just like thinking I had something similar happen where I went to Blaze Pizza. They carry vegan pizza, so I went there. I was sitting outside, and actually I was sitting inside, and then I saw outside this family come in, and they had a dog, and there was two kids, and the one kid started like kind of smacking the dog. So, and the parents were inside, so I went outside, and I said, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" I said, we treat animals with love and respect. And the kid just, and then the mother came right out because, she was wondering what was this person doing. And so I said, well, he was kind of being abusive to the dog. So I just told him that it wasn't nice to do that. So she got it all under control. But
Yeah.
sometimes you just got to speak up. I just couldn't let it continue on.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. And one of the things that I became aware of in my work through Farm Sanctuary is that these situations notwithstanding, kids actually get it in a way that adults don't. They're very quick to make the connection between the fact that animals are individuals that deserve love and respect, and will leave them, off their plates, right? Which is really kind of an incredible thing.
Wow. So you are an attorney and you do animal law. So, and you work for the Humane League. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the senior policy counsel with the Humane League, and our mission is to end the abuse of animals raised for food. And we first started our work with corporate campaigns, where we pressure corporations to adopt changes to their policies with regard to animals, predominantly chickens, because as you know, and many of your listeners probably know, chickens are the most abused animal on the planet. Um, I think in the United States, we slaughter something like 9 billion a year, which is why we focus on chickens so that we can have the most impact. Most recently, we moved to doing more policy work. So we do legislative work that also seeks to end the abuse of animals raised for food. I'm very proud of this work. Most recently, we were able to get regulations passed in Arizona that established requirements for cage-free housing for egg-laying hens. And Arizona joined 9 other states in cage bans.
That is awesome. And this is the way that we have to move forward now is, we have vegan food out there. That's awesome, but we have to make policy changes. And I'm sure that you need support from individuals at times because you might have campaigns that will help you achieve your goal. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We focus at the Humane League on kind of 2 perspectives. One is the individual change perspective, which you referenced, and then the systemic perspective. And like you said, we have to make systemic changes in order to make real change for animals. Not to say individual change doesn't matter, but systemic change is really going to move the ball forward. The best way that you can get involved is to be a volunteer with us. And don't worry, this isn't like you have to engage like with people. You can engage from the comfort of your own home. So if you go to our website, thehumaneleague.org, you can find the volunteer with us tab, and you can find various ways to engage. So one of the ways that we engage with supporters is through what's called our Fast Action Network. And it's an easy way to take action for animals. So it involves sending messages to corporations, tweeting, posting things on Instagram, very easy, quick things that make a huge difference for animals. We also expect in the coming months to see more legislative activity as we get into the 2023 session. And so that'll be a way that you can plug in as well.
And just like just tell us like how effective is people emailing or calling or tweeting, because some people don't do it because they don't think that it actually works, but I know that it works. But can you just reaffirm to people that this is totally something that works, and like you said, from the comfort of your own home?
It absolutely works. That's one of the sort of hallmarks of our work at THL is tweeting, emailing, posting on Instagram. And the truth is, corporations don't like it. They want it very badly to go away. And what we've really honed in on is that this messaging, even from the comfort of your own home, really puts pressure on corporations to make change, which is why we've seen over 500 corporate commitments to move to cage free. So it works. It absolutely works.
And the other thing that I want to mention and for you to make a comment on is that you see, like you said, you're having cage free, trying to move that, for the chickens. And every step we take, no matter how people think is small, like we're not banning right now, ending cruelty to all chicken by the animal agriculture, but can you just talk to the fact that every little step that we make is a move forward?
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm so glad you raised it. At the Humane League, we have what's called our theory of change. So we believe that these incremental steps lead to, massive change over time. So one of the things that we've seen is the cage-free industry with regard to egg-laying hens. I think it's something like a third of that industry is now totally cage free. And without the work of activists, that wouldn't have happened. And the reality is we aren't going to see, animal agriculture end overnight. And these incremental changes really add up to something much larger, and really help move the needle towards progress for animals.
Right. And that's what, sometimes I talk to people and try to get that message to people that everything helps. I mean, when you're on social media, talk about it, share. I see sometimes petitions from whoever, Humane League, Mercy for Animals, or In Defense for Animals, and I like to share them, and I ask people, please sign this, because the more we share, we're our own media. If we're not relevant to the TV world, the radio world, the newspaper world, because we're all vegans, and that's not such a topic that they want to be their front running thing right now. One day
Sure.
it will be, but not right now. So
Yeah.
we are our own media.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally. And I think one of the things that people underestimate too is that um, despite the fact that mainstream media doesn't love to cover these issues, I think something like 77% of Americans polled want to see changes in our food system and want to see animal protections. So this matters to people, right? And the more that we can share, the more we can connect, the better.
Absolutely. Thank you for reaffirming what I, try to explain and put forward, that every voice counts, every action counts. Um, and if Greta thought that holding her sign in front of her school wasn't going to make a difference,
Yeah.
if she would have gave up, we
Yep.
wouldn't have had that climate strike a couple of years ago, led by one person in front of her school with one sign.
Absolutely. Never, what is that saying? Never underestimate, that one person
Power
can.
of one person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then I'm excited because I was contemplating going to the summit, which you're going to be a speaker at, the Animal and Vegan Advocacy AVA Summit in Washington in the end of October. Tell us
Yes.
about that.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be presenting during this summit. So it's October 20th through the 23rd in Washington, D.C. And the speaker list is up. It's just fantastic. I'm delighted to be attending and experiencing some of these speakers. I, in particular, will be speaking with Natalie Awish from Humane Action Pittsburgh and Eloisa Trinidad from Chili's on Wheels. And we will be focusing on effective advocacy and centering and engaging impacted communities in your advocacy. So there are in-person and virtual options for attendance, and I encourage new and seasoned advocates alike to attend.
Awesome. And you're going to talk about that very thing, advocacy, and how people can, help the effort of moving along veganism.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to talk about that as well as how to engage effectively with your legislators. So, what does it look like to have a good relationship with your legislator and make sure that they know animal welfare matters to you?
And exactly, and how important it is to connect with our legislators, council people, and introduce ourselves and tell them what matters to us. Because if we don't tell them, they're not going to know, and they're just going to continue the same old, because they don't hear from us, the ones that are trying to make a change.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. At the end of the day, your legislators work for you, whether you voted for them or not, and they need to hear from you.
Awesome. And it is effective to either call them, email them, or you could schedule in-person meetings with them if you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Tweet them, whatever works for you. They need to know that you care and they need to hear from you.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show. And do you have last words for my viewers?
Thank you for your advocacy. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't give up. Keep working for the animals, and change is possible.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Hannah. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us on another Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Remember to check out our website, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have a pulse. You have a purpose. Live vegan.